Today I'm going to show you how to make a pair of lamps using these LED earrings. So these ones are actually pink. I would have preferred to use the white ones, but you use what you got. Actually, they'll make a nice warm glow, I think, in the little dollhouse. So basically what it is the back of the earring. You can see here, it's got a little tiny battery, like a little tiny watch battery. Those micro batteries, you can actually buy them at the dollar store. And when you actually stick the earring into it, then that's what activates the little light bulb. So here I am putting a bead on it, and then another kind of cup sort of shaped bead, all in silver to match the earring. And then when you put the earring back on it, this will be the base of the lamp. And it sits quite nicely, quite firmly on the table. So I really like the way these look when they're finished. They turn out quite nice. If you look here to the left of the screen, you'll see these are the actual earrings on the far left that I'm using. I didn't get mine off of Amazon. I actually got mine at an Amazon return store here locally, but they can be purchased on Amazon in various colors. You can see here they also make these little disco balls and little light bulbs, which I think would make really cool ceiling fixtures. So there's lots of options that are actually available. So what I've got some plain printer paper because I don't want to waste my good paper. And I'm going to draw a circle around a round object. In this case, I'm just using a paint can. So I'm just drawing a circle around. And then I've got a polymer clay cutter that's a little bit smaller circle that I'm going to use to draw an interior circle. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to make a lampshade. So, and I waste a lot of paper doing this because every time I make lampshades, I don't actually have a pattern for it. So I just kind of like to use paper that's not expensive because I hate wastage. So as you can see here, I'm just going to go around and cut my circle out as neatly as I possibly can. But I guess neatness isn't really all that important because this will not be the final size of it. I'll have to size it several times in order to get the exact size that I want for my earring. Because this is going to be quite a small lamp. So just so that I want to make this very clear, I am not sponsored by Miniland Canada, but they are my absolute favorite lighting place anywhere in the world. So I am not a big fan of doing wiring in dollhouses. It's just kind of not my thing. So Miniland makes a huge variety of LED lights that use watch batteries. I mean, they make everything from chandeliers to table lamps to you name it, and it's well worth it for you to go and check it out. As you can see here, I'm just kind of trimming it just to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to have to do that several times until I get it just where I want it. So making it into a nice little cone shape, which is what we need for the lampshade. And fitting it several times with the actual earring to make sure that it's the size that we want. And yeah, that's way too wide. We got to trim that down. So here I am kind of cutting it down, making it a little bit shorter. So otherwise the lampshade would cover the entire base. It's ridiculously long. So once again, you just keep on making cones until you find the exact one that you like, the exact shape that you like. So once again, just kind of making it a little bit smaller. And you got to remember the top of the cone has got to be smaller than the top of the earring because you don't want the lampshade to fall right over top of the earring. So once again, yeah, it's pretty close. I'd say that's about the size that I want it to be. So now I'm taking out the nice paper. So this is scrapbooking paper. I've got tons and tons and tons of it. all different colors and shades. And you can see here this book that I have. I bought it to do a little 1/24 scale baby nursery. So I've got like all different tiny little patterns that just are perfect for wallpaper. But today, I think that we want to stick with something a little bit more neutral, and these lamps will not be for a baby room. So, but it is nice that there's so many different patterns available. I think we're going to go with this neutral beige one with the hearts. So I'm just going to set about tracing the pattern that I just made onto this paper. And I don't want to do it right in the middle of the page because I don't want to waste paper if I don't have to. So I'm just going to trace it out and then trim it. So I should have used a pencil. Instead, I'm using a black pen. And the main reason why I'm doing that is otherwise you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm just tracing that out as neatly as I possibly can. There we go. That's perfect. Okay, so now I'm going to cut this out. Of course, I'm going to have to make two of them, but I'm only going to do one on camera. So I'm just cutting this out nicely. Trying to cut the black pen lines off of it, but these are not the sharpest scissors that I own, that's for sure. Should have looked for my good scissors before I started this task. Okay, now I can get some of the black lines off. There we go. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because after it's made, we're going to go back and trim it anyways, so. Okay, so now we're going to just cut the inside here. There we go. Nice and slow, take your time. Mind you, it's using such a minute amount of paper. If I do mess it up, it's not like we don't have any more that we can pull from. Okay, so now, here we go. We'll make that cone shape. And this time out of our final product. I always seem to fiddle around with it quite a bit until I get it just exactly the way I like it. And once again, I got to trim off a little bit more. There we go. Just roll it into that cone shape. And test it again. It's nice because once you get the first one done and it's exactly perfect, then that second one is really easy to do. So, there we go. Oh, that's perfect. That looks good. Okay. So now we're going to have to look for a little bit of glue. Oh, here's the second one. I'm just trimming the black off of it. There. That looks much neater. Okay. See, it's just a little bit of fiddling as you go until you find it exactly perfect. And then once you got the first one done, well, then it's easy because the second one, you just cut it identical. So now we've got two of them. And we're ready for the glue. So the glue that I'm using here is just regular tacky glue. So I use tacky glue for everything. I think because it's just available everywhere and inexpensive and does the job. So, okay, so we're just rolling it up here. Get it into the cone shape that we like. I'm not the most elegant person when it comes to gluing. As you can see, I got glue all over my fingers. Yuck. But, and it takes a little bit of fiddling to get it just where you want it. I think it's because it's so small, it's kind of awkward to get in there. So I'm just going to grab a pen, kind of tuck it all in so that it's all nicely uniform. I still have a little bit of extra that I'm going to trim off. There we go. And now we're going to glue that all together in a perfect little cone. Oh, that looks pretty good to me. I'm quite happy with that. Just try it on the base there. Yeah, it seems to work quite well. So now I've made the second one. They're both exactly the same in size. That's what works. So I still see that there's a little bit of like it's just never quite perfect. So you really do have to get a pair of fine scissors and get in there and trim it so that it's completely flat on both ends. Just so that any waviness that might be there disappears. And you can see I'm just kind of trimming it up. My friend Cheryl bought me these scissors. They are so amazingly sharp. I just love them. So I'll just go in and even it out. Make sure it looks really good before we go on to the next step. It's hard to trim them once they're attached to the lamp, so this is a process that you want to do prior to installing them onto the lamp bases. You can see here it was just a little higher on one side, so I'm going to just cut that down. All right, that's perfect. So now more tacky glue, and we're just going to glue these right to the top of the earring. And they'll look really good when they're done. So just kind of make sure you can't go back afterwards once glue's dry. So just make sure that the lampshades are non-crooked. Put a generous amount of tacky glue in there because you want it to be seated onto the top of the earring nice and firmly. Let me see here, just a little bit more. Oh, there we go. Now we're going to put the top of the earring in there. There we go. I'm just going to turn the earring off because I don't want to waste the battery while it's drying. Oops. You have to turn the actual earring back in order to turn the earring on and off. I just got to assure that... Oh, I didn't turn it off. It's hard to work with when everything's all sticky and covered in glue. There we go. Now it's off. So I'm just going to leave these two to dry for a couple of hours. And then I'm going to come back and see you. Okay, so I'm back. So we got some Mod Podge. And the reason why I'm putting Mod Podge on this is not only do I like the high gloss sheen that I'm going to put on these lampshades, but it also makes them a little bit sturdier because sometimes you have to kind of grip the lampshade when you twist the base to turn the lights on and off. So it's not that bad. I mean, I made a couple of these about 6 months ago and they're still in good working order. So I'm just kind of covering this pretty good. It's going to take a couple hours again for it to dry. And after that, we shall be done. So you can see I'm putting the Mod Podge on quite thick. Maybe a little thicker than I would normally, but I really, really want them to be quite sturdy when they dry, so that's the reason why I'm coating them so generously. So there we go. So let's let these dry and we'll come back and look at our lamps as soon as they're all done up. See ya in a few minutes. And again, that's the high gloss Mod Podge that I'm using. Well, it's been a couple hours and they're all dry. I think they're just a lovely addition to any little dollhouse. I just love it when miniatures really work. So nice little glow that comes off of them, and they just give the room such ambiance. Well, thank you very much for watching today. Please like and subscribe and tell your friends all about my channel. See you next week.